Southwestern Family of Companies welcomes you to the Action Catalyst. Each week, our diversely and amazingly accomplished guests share their insights and inspirations to help us ignite our own. So let's invest attention together to breathe, to reflect and refocus, and decisively defeat that voice we call Mr. Mediocrity. Then let's enjoy moving forward to make a positive difference in our world. Privileged to be your host, this is Dan Moore. Well, welcome back to the Action Catalyst. This is Dan Moore, and today we are delighted to have as a guest Dr. Bob Nelson. We've had a number of people that can speak about motivation and can speak about employee engagement, but Dr. Bob is considered the leading authority in this area worldwide. He's the president of Nelson Motivation Incorporation, and it is a management training and consulting company that specializes in helping organizations of all kinds improve their effectiveness. Just to indicate his names list, so to speak, 80% of the Fortune 500 firms have worked with Dr. Bob, and he serves as an executive coach and strategist. He's been named a top thought leader by the Best Practice Institute, a leading global employee engagement influencer, and a top 20 global management guru for 2019 by Thinkers 15 in London. What's very impressive to me is that he spent 10 years working very closely with Dr. Ken Blanchard, who wrote The 1 Minute Manager and so many others, and is a personal coach himself for Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who is the #1 ranked executive coach in the world. So coaching the coach. Dr. Bob has put together some brilliant books, of which some 5 million copies have been sold, including 1,501 Ways to Reward Employees, 1,001 Rewards and Recognition Field Book, 1,001 Ways to Energize Employees, and his latest book, 1,001 Ways to Engage Employees. And these books have been translated into more than 30 languages. He's appeared on every continent with the possible exception of Antarctica, and appears on national and international media. So you may have seen him on 60 Minutes, CNN, MSNBC, PBS, NPR, and featured in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, Fortune, Business Week, on and on and on. It's absolutely phenomenal. And those things come because they've been earned by great contribution. Bob holds his MBA in organizational behavior from UC Berkeley and earned his PhD in management education beside Dr. Peter Drucker, who is considered worldwide the father of modern management at Claremont Graduate University in LA. And among his other activities, he teaches in the MBA school at the University of California, San Diego. So, Bob, it goes on and on. It's amazing, and we are so delighted to have you here on the Action Catalyst. Welcome.
I'm glad to be with you.
Well, good. Our listeners are business leaders, they're entrepreneurs, they're people thinking about entrepreneurship, they are current managers in organizations. And when they hear about all the things that you've accomplished and the many things about engagement that you have contributed to the world, it's pretty easy to think maybe you never really had a problem. But I wouldn't be surprised, Bob, if you've had some brick walls along the way. Can you maybe share how you got started as a young guy and how you led into this whole area of employee motivation and engagement and some of the obstacles you faced and overcome?
Yeah. I think along the way we all get feedback about things we're good at, and then we have our own feedback on things we like. And if you can find that cross section between those two, I think it's a good place to make things happen. And that's so I knew I could write, and I loved the power of writing. How you can help people, help change things, help improve things. I'm very positive. I'm very practical. My values are very practical. So I just kind of used those assets to start writing books. Initially, I self-published and learned a lot about publishing. You focus on things you don't know, and then pretty soon you know them, and then you can even be known for them if you keep at it. So when it comes to books, I already had my MBA, and I was waiting for my wife to finish her graduate degree. So I had like 6 months, and I said, well, if I could do anything I wanted, what would that be? And I worked for a bookstore, and it was a wonderful job. It didn't pay hardly anything, but I learned so much about publishing and publishers, and got to see what I liked. And every book was like a present. So that was very fundamental in me getting into writing books. published my first self-published book. I was 25, and I've done about a 30 books since.
Wow.
Which is honestly, I don't know a harder thing that I've ever done than write a book, but I keep coming back to it. So, and I get help from people as well. So I know the process now. It doesn't make the next one easier, I find, but
Hmm.
I guess they've had some value because a lot of them have done very well.
Hmm.
I've been blessed with that. But at the same time, I got to tell you, it was Mark Twain who said, "The harder you work, the luckier you get." And I remember a relative told my wife, "Oh, Bob really got lucky with that one book he did. I sold 2 million copies of." And my wife instantly said, "Luck had nothing to do with it." he pounded the pavement. He made calls. He would go anywhere, do anything. It was not when I first published 1,001 Ways to Reward Employees, which came out 25 years ago this month. I remember in the first week, I remember a president of a PR firm called me and asked me out to lunch, and he said, "Wow, this book is really taken off. It sold, I think it sold 40,000 copies in just the first few months. It was just kind of clicked, you know." And he wanted to talk to me, and he liked it. He said, uh, how many copies do you think it'll sell?" And I never thought of that question, but I guess I had the answer because I didn't I immediately said 1 million. And he said, "Over what period of time?" Well, I never thought about that either. And I said, 3 years. And at 3.5 years, the book passed 1 million copies, and now is close to 2 million copies. So for that one book.
That is an
So
incredible achievement.
yeah, so it's you need maybe a little luck, but the harder you work, the luckier you get, and being prepared when opportunities are there is very important. So and I guess along your questioning, I guess I've constantly viewed of I've constantly got a number of different strategies in play. I have my own company now. I've worked for others, worked for several corporations. I like working for myself because I control the agenda, and
Mm.
no one, it's funny. I've worked for several companies, and I do a lot of different things, and making money different ways, and that bothers a lot of people in in a business environment, and Bob's double dipping and stuff like that, and it's like, wow, no one tells me that now because no one knows. I'm the one. I control what I do, and the more the way I focus on different strategies, they don't even have to all come into play. If a few of them do, I do very well.
Hmm. It's like the old saying, you get a lot of marbles rolling down the hill. Some of them are going to get to the bottom.
Exactly.
So I think that's great. Now, along the way, there must have been some moments when you weren't sure which direction to go. What strategies have you developed when you hit a brick wall in terms of career progression and movement that have helped you?
Okay. Yes. What really speaks to some of the things I was just saying is I don't have just one strategy on anything I'm doing. I always have multiple strategies. If I do on a given year, if I do 5 major strategies, 2 or 3 of them are going to carry the year, and I don't always know which those are to begin with, because it sounds good, but until you get into it and start talking to people and get responses from people, then it may work better. You might find something else that works better, but you find out if it's not working. So obviously you don't keep doing something that's not working. So
Mm.
I think having a freshness of strategies has been one of my keys in any of it, in like the books I do, in the speaking I do, in the consulting I do, in I'm constantly looking for new and better strategies for what's working now in changing times, because there's a lot of change, and probably always has been in our lifetimes. But so what worked yesterday or last year may not work today or tomorrow. So
Hmm.
you have to have a flexibility.
Well, that is very true. For an example of your flexibility is you've done a lot of recent work in the area of engagement of millennials in the workplace, which is, of course, a much decried group of people. Our company makes our whole living from millennials. I love them. But what do you see as some of the institutional changes maybe that people that are pre-millennial generation should be making in order to provide that engagement, motivation, and proper environment?
Yes, well, just background on that one. I got the way you got, as you're ready for opportunities. I had uh, CNN call me, and they said we're doing a segment on millennials, and we'd like to feature you. And I said, well, I'm flattered, but I'm not a millennial. And they said, yeah, we know. I said, well, why would you pick me? He go, well, from our research, one of the defining elements of the generation is a need for recognition uh, on a daily basis. Actually, it's a trophy generation, and you're the king of rewards. You're the, the guru of thank you. And okay, well, let's do it then. And so I did a wonderful and I did 60 minutes. Feature on 60 Minutes on the topic, and so now I'm in the game, So people
Hmm.
ask you to speak, and so that became one of about a dozen topics I talk about now, and it's a delightful topic to research it, and that's evolved over the time as well. Uh, the millennials currently are already the majority, largest generation in the workplace. By 2025, they'll represent three-quarters of every job will be a millennial. I just worked with a company in Myrtle Beach, um, South Carolina. There, there were a number of millennials they had. It was a hospitality company. It was 65%. So
Hmm.
it's depending on the industry, you got even more. And they set the tone. And so you have to adjust your management style for the people you're managing, which a lot of people don't do. And so it's very easy on that topic for baby boomers to say, well, I paid my dues, they got to pay their dues. And it's like, well, newsflash, they're not going to pay their dues. You have to make it happen for them now. Well, that doesn't seem right. Well, okay, do you want to hire them? Do you want them to work out? Well, then let go of those stereotypes of baggage and deal with who's you're dealing with now. And if you do, you're going to find it's a delightful workforce. They're hardworking. They are very creative. They have different expectations of life and of their job. So, for example, 88% don't feel money is their top motivator. Wow. Well, a lot of boomers will say, well, how could that be? Of course, money is the most important thing. Well, not for them. 60% want to work for a place that provides purpose. For example, they want to have opportunity. So you've got to meet them at where they're at if you expect them to work out. So for
Hmm.
the very first conversation, the average tenure of a millennial is 1.8 years right now and dropping. So if someone in an environment, a company, a lot of times the average tenure will be 27 years or 33 years or something. If for a company to adjust to a whole workforce population that is looking to change jobs every 1.5 years, you got to do some adjustment quickly to account for that.
Hmm.
And when you do, actually, you're going to find you're going to be a more productive workforce because you're not thinking in terms of they're going to be around forever. If you don't do things now that are important to them, they're not going to be around next week even. So it's causing people to take attention and to adjust how they view managing people. So you
Right.
kind of hit a nerve there for me. I could probably talk for a couple of days on just on millennials. I'm very bullish on them.
Well, as am I. We have about 1,400 salespeople, and all but 9 or 10 are millennials. So I completely understand
Excellent,
and appreciate
excellent.
them very much. And of course, generational gaps goes all the way back to Cat Stevens' father and son, and way below that. So learning to adjust. Do you find millennials are more skilled at managing and leading other millennials? How's that working?
I think because they come at with different values. I think they have the potential to be better leaders. They're not clinging to command and control values or I'm right because I'm the person in charge and you're not. They're much more collaborative, which is a strength for effectively managing today. They're definitely action oriented. So as you get involved in them, in my research and experience, the top motivators of people are things that tend to not cost money to begin with. A simple
Hmm.
thank you for a job well done, and involving people in decisions that affect them, asking their opinions and ideas and suggestions. If they got a good one, giving them permission to pursue that idea, autonomy and authority. If they happen to make a mistake, which they will if they're pushing the envelope, how you handle mistakes is a huge motivator. You can embarrass them in front of their peers and prove you're the smartest person in the room, or you could say, I'm not sure I would have done it the same way, but what'd you learn from that? It could be the best training you've had all year. And so you do those things, and I think millennials are more apt to do that if they. Um, I'm very bullish on them as employees. I'm very bullish on them as managers as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Now that's really powerful and very affirmative. So thank you for that. Now, shifting the focus back to you, Dr. Bob. What keeps you growing? It's easy to get complacent and listen to that voice that says, "Coast a while, slip it, let it just roll into neutral for a bit." But you're constantly growing. What keeps you growing?
Yeah, thank you. And I think for my life anyway, there's an ebb and a flow. So when you're in kind of go-go, you're out on the road, uh, you're going from one market to another, then you're kind of focused on that and doing the best job with the clients you're working with. And then when you're off of that and things are slower, it gives you more time to then come back to do, for me, the what's new, what's different, marketing type stuff that leads to other things. So I don't know, being open to opportunities and having in mind what you'd like to do is of course important. The uh, you know Dreams, that said that dreams are a goal with a deadline. Having a specific goal and not just wishing for things, but backing it up with actions. For example, yesterday I hiked with a friend, and she's a lawyer and wants to get on some boards. In California, they passed a law that all publicly held companies have to have a woman on their board, and that's just for right now. And each year it goes up where there's got to be a certain percentage of the board has to be women. It's like 40% or 60% eventually. I'm not sure that number, but it's at least 40%. So that means if a board, if you have a board and you don't have women, you by law you're going to have a female board member by the end of the year, and build on that beyond that. So a prime time for her. She's very skilled. She's great at managing risk and strategy. So she's a great candidate, and it's a great opportunity. So she would like to do that. If you leave it there, then it may happen. It probably won't happen. So I spend my whole time just saying, well, what are you going to do? Well, have you targeted companies? Well, there's 100 California public corporations that she has identified that well, that's great. So what do you do first to get? And she's already working with some corporations, so that's start with the low hanging fruit. So before we're done talking, she's got a plan, and then I'm still pushing her. It's like you got to have a sense of urgency. If you're still thinking about doing it, by next fall, this could be too late. Those companies that had to get a female board member already got them. So you have to strike now. So I'm big at motivating people to do things now to move towards the future state, and I do that for myself as well.
Hmm. Well, that's the real art of practicing what you preach, and how important that is. So I think it's great. Now, here's maybe a little bit of an odd question. Do you have a particular way you like to start your day to get your engine going, to get you moving? A morning routine. A number of my guests have had a morning routine. I'm just curious.
I think it depends on where I am that morning. I've got like two personalities. I'm on the road personality where I'm focused on what I'm doing and the client I'm working with and doing the best job in a presentation or consulting. That when I'm back home, I've got a lot more things to do and a lot more flexibility into what's most important. So I guess there's a routine. It's me at the beginning of each day saying, well, what are the three things that I most want to get done today, and keeping those as a priority, as opposed to just going on email and then suddenly your day is taken away, you know. Uh, so it's making sure you're driving the agenda of the best use of your time, not just responding to other people who are vying for your time or want something from you. Make sure that you're taking care of the things that are important to you first. And so sometimes that means blocking everything out to get through the first thing that's most important. And so it's that I think that's probably my best strategy, how I start the day.
So it's sort of the anti-distraction valve that you keep open or shut, but making sure you get your first priorities done first.
If you don't have it staked out, more times than not, you get to the end of the day and you will not have done those things that were most important to you. Which then, and yeah, the stuff that came up might have been important, but still, you got to be driving your own time. No one else is going to do that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, otherwise the day goes away pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very true. Now, what would you say to somebody, Dr. Bob, who's genuinely discouraged? Either they're overwhelmed by circumstances out of their control. As they said in the song, The Gambler, they're out of aces. What are some 1, 2, 3s to get somebody moving when they are just really stuck?
Well, it's interesting. I just when you're really having a bad day, for example, where things are not going well on many levels, sometimes I just cash it in and say, hey, I'm going to go to bed, go to bed early. Yeah. That actually the advice I got from Ann Landers a long time ago. She said, you're having a bad day, go to bed, start over tomorrow, get up earlier tomorrow. So every now and then I might do that, but I always, again, very practical. So I'll think and I'll strategize. What something's not working, and I'll have disappointments, and I tend to double down on approaching another strategy harder. So if oh boy, I'll give you an example. So I do a lot of speaking for different groups, and I was excited about a new group that I was going to start speaking for, and I had some great conversations, and ultimately, a couple places I approached on this type of speaking, they declined. So I was like, oh man, that's going to be a whole strategy for me. So it kind of stopped me for a moment, but then as I pick myself up, I already have the context for the other ones. I'm just going to hit them harder, and against not giving up on a strategy before I feel it's been fully tested. So I don't know. There's in anything I do, I'm doing as I do books. I've got you want to do a book, you feel a good idea, and then you map it out, you get into it, and it's just not working the way I thought. It's not the value I thought. It's not. So stop and you reapproach it, and maybe I guess I'll call someone that I think I can talk to about it and get their thoughts. So I kind of have ways to ruminate on why something isn't working, or what something's stuck. I don't even know why, but if I talk about it with someone else, I can get unstuck.
Mm-hmm.
And often that means, instead of working that same strategy a little bit more when it's not working, sometimes it's unplugging from that strategy, coming at it from a different angle, and wow, now you got kind of a freshness all around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's making any sense, but that's
yeah.
You asked me some stuff I probably never have been asked about before.
Well, that's great though. So you use others as like a personal advisory board to bounce ideas off, give you some perspective, and the rest of that. And that's important.
Absolutely. And I think I've got different people in my life for different types of things, so And of course, your spouse is usually for most people their best friend. But I'll have, if I'm stuck on say a book project where it's just not coming together, I have a long-term contact that I'll call that uh, writes books, and um, I will have clarity after I talk to him. And he, by the way, is someone I got into writing books, so
Hmm.
he perpetually feels he owes me because I send him work and whatnot, and I don't want anything from the leads I give him. But every now and then I'll call and I'll pick his mind, and he will be all too helpful for me. So that's just on that. There might be so different parts of your life when you're have troubles. There might, I don't know if it's true. Maybe there's different people you can ask about different things. If there's finance things, there might be different people you talk to versus personal problems versus work problems, different types of work problems. I don't know. That's offhand. That's my approach.
Yeah.
You're getting stuff from me I've never really talked about before.
Well, I'd say you're giving us a very practical strategy, and that's to realize that people have different influences in our lives, in different aspects of our lives, and we should lean on the ones that have that impact and ability to help us move forward.
I don't think or I'll say myself. I don't think I use my colleagues I know, people I know in my life for different things. I have people in my life that will call me that are just a loose colleague, and they'll ask stuff of me, and I'm always flattered to do that. But I find I don't do that myself. You don't want to be a burden to someone else. You don't want to, and I find that usually when you do that, you end up you know having a closer relationship with the person that you asked about challenges you have, and it's in fact, in my bio, you mentioned Marshall Goldsmith, who's just a great
Mhm.
guy, and he does this one activity when he speaks, and he has people everyone stand up and just think about something important in their life that they're working on, something they want to be better at, a better at a task, or a better parent, or a better spouse, whatever it is, something that's really important that you want to work on. And he has them um, meet someone else. Everyone's standing around to meet someone and tell them what you're working on, and then ask them for their feedback. That's the whole exercise, and it's not a discussion, and they can't be clarifying questions. You say, so I'm trying to. So, for example, if I said, I'm trying to be better with my time, and I'm talking to someone I don't know, and they give me one suggestion, and they might say, prioritize the things to do, and the response is thank you. It's not a discussion point. Thank you. And you turn and you do it again with someone else. And just in 15 minutes, you get this incredible feedback on something that's really important to you. And all these are all people that maybe you knew already that you could have asked at any time, but the exercise had you asking right now. And I tell you what, I've done that where someone I didn't know from a different country would say something and just almost knock me off my feet. It was like, that's brilliant. And then I'm looking for them afterwards because I wanted to thank them. And it's amazing. The information is out there if we open ourselves to it in a vehicle for tapping into it. So that's a
Mhm.
wonderful little career development thing that Marshall does that I think is fabulous every time I've done it with him.
That's fantastic. It sounds like it's helped you stay coachable and teachable too. And the teacher's always learning.
And that's a big one too, because the point where you think you know it all, then you're going to be in decline in whatever it is that you were good at. That if you don't continue to learn and try to stretch and improve in whatever way, not just in terms of what you know, but who you know, and in terms of how you do things, in terms of goals for your life. If you're not keeping it active and fresh, then I think in a little way you're dying. So you're gonna get better. It's like Woody Allen says, it's like his life's like a shark. You gotta keep moving forward. You can't just
Hmm.
pause and because then you're gonna regress, and it's not gonna be excitement and commitment to do something better.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. Well, Dr. Bob, this has been an amazingly instructive time for me personally, and I know it will be for our listeners as well. So on behalf of everyone in the Action Catalyst, thank you so much, not just for what you shared today, but for the great work you do. Engagement, involvement, motivation, we need all those things.
Thank you so much. I was honored to be on your program.
Well, that's great. Well, best of success to you, and keep it cool, San Diego.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. To stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst and Twitter at Catalyst_Action. Thanks for listening. This episode is sponsored by Southwestern Coaching. Southwestern Coaching has helped over 12,000 people increase their incomes by over 25% on average. As a successful salesperson, you know the importance of increasing your sales, but sometimes you might just need a little extra push and accountability to meet your goals and grow your business. Southwestern Coaching will help you increase your income through one-on-one sales and leadership coaching tailored specifically to your needs. Together, we will elevate sales. To schedule your free one-on-one business action planning session with a Southwestern coach, go to www.southwesternconsulting.com/action catalyst.